Okay, hello guys. My name is Himanshu. So guys, welcome to the new session that we have on verbal ability. And in today's session, we're going to discuss some questions from summary. We're going to do some questions from parajumbles, and we also do some questions on odd one out. Okay, so that is what the plan of today's session is. So guys, this is what my profile looks like. Okay, so I had a 99.74 percentile in the verbal section, CAT 2016. I had calls from IIM Bangalore, Indore, and Shillong. And I have done MA and MPhil in English literature. I have been teaching the students for the last 10 years. Okay, so guys, this is the session on verbal ability, and we will be starting the session shortly. So before we start, so something about Unacademy. So guys, this video is brought to you on the platform of Unacademy. What you see on the screen are some of the educators who are currently associated with Unacademy. Unacademy is an online learning platform, and I believe that a lot of you have downloaded the Unacademy app. Now, guys, there's a lot of free content available, so you can watch these special sessions, and then there is plus content, which is basically the paid version. Now, currently there are more than 100 teachers in the CAT domain, and you can choose your own favorite teacher. There are a lot of teachers who teach in vernacular also, so it depends on you what sort of teacher you want to pick. So you have a plethora of choices when it comes to teachers. Now you have sessions that are live. Okay, so you attend the live classes of your favorite teachers, and you also have the recorded version. So that means that you can watch the live classes, and then you can also like if you miss the session, you can always go and check the recorded version, right? Okay, so guys, what you see on the screen here is your subscription plan. Now if you look at the subscription plan, the best subscription plan that we have, okay, as you can see, the most economical subscription plan works out to be the 12-month plan, because on a monthly basis, this works out to be the cheapest. Similarly, if you look at the 24 months plan also, okay, those of you who are planning to prepare CAT, and like they have started preparing 2 years in advance, okay, okay, so especially for those people, this is also one of the good options to take. Okay, 24 months plan. And whenever guys you buy the plan, remember to use my code HSINGH, HSINGH, and this will get you a fabulous discount. Okay, so if you apply this code, you will get a 10% discount on your subscription. Okay, so guys, we start with the first question of parajumble, of the summary. And now what you see on your screen right now is basically a summary question. So you have been given four choices, A, B, C, D. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes for each of these questions. And after 3 minutes, we pick up these questions for discussion one by one. Okay, so guys, this is actual CAT question, and whatever questions that we discuss in today's session are all actual CAT questions. Okay, so your time starts now. You can have a look at the question, and then after 3 minutes, we take this question for discussion. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, so let's have a look at the question. Okay, so this is the question. For each of the past 3 years, temperatures have hit peaks not since the birth of meteorology and probably not for more than 110,000 years. The amount of carbon dioxide in the air is at the highest level in 4 million years. Okay, so this is what is man-made. Okay, amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, so we can see that the amount of carbon dioxide in air is at the highest level. Okay, so amount of carbon dioxide is at the highest level in 4 million years. This does not cause storms like Harvey. Now, see, carbon dioxide in itself is not the reason for the hurricane Harvey. Okay, but then there are certain things that might happen because of that, right? Okay, there are certain things that might happen because of that. There have always been storms. There have always been storms. Okay, so storms is nothing new. There have always been storms and hurricanes along the Gulf of Mexico, but it makes them wetter and more powerful. As the seas warm, they evaporate more easily and provide energy to storm fronts. Okay, so guys, this is what is happening. Storms have always been there, but then the human activity, okay, like for example, carbon dioxide and all those things, okay, have made these storms stronger and more powerful. Now, why has this happened? Okay, so what is the reason for that? Okay, now reason, as you can see, uh, as the seas warm, they evaporate more easily and provide energy to the storm front. Okay, so the reason is the reason is that when the seas become warm, okay, and why do they warm? Okay, obviously because of the global warming, and as the seas warm, they evaporate more easily and provide more energy to the storm front. Okay, now storms have always been there, but human activity has made them wetter and more powerful. Okay, now how human activity has made them wetter and more powerful, you can see. Okay, how human activity has made them wetter and more powerful, you can see this. Because when the sea is warm, they evaporate more easily and provide energy to the storm fronts. As the air above them becomes warm, it becomes more, it holds more water vapor. For every half a degree Celsius in warming, there is a 3% increase in atmospheric moisture content. Okay, so guys, this is what is happening. For every half degree Celsius in warming, okay, there is about 3% increase in atmospheric moisture content. So these are the things that are happening. Human activity, carbon dioxide, hurricanes becoming stronger, more wetter, more powerful. Seas are prone to evaporation. When the seas are prone to evaporation, it increases the strength of the storm fronts and the water vapor that is above the sea for every half degree Celsius in warming. Okay, so you can see for every half a degree Celsius in warming, okay, there is about a 3% increase in atmospheric moisture content. Okay, so the moisture content also goes up. Scientists call this Clausius-Clapeyron equation. This means that fill the skies fill more quickly and have more to dump. The storm surge was greater because sea level has risen 20 centimeter as a result of more than 100 years of human related, okay, as a result of human related human related global warming, which has melted glaciers and thermally expanded the volume of seawater. Okay, so all these things are given, and obviously you can see that these storms are becoming stronger because of human activity. So this is something that becomes very clear from the discussion, and like all those things have been mentioned that okay, the like there's an increase in moisture content. Then you also have a Clapeyron equation which says that when the skies fill more quickly, they have more to dump, and all this is happening because of the last 100 years of human intervention. Okay, so having read this, now have a look at the options. The storm Harvey is one of the regular annual ones from the Gulf of Mexico. Global warming and Harvey are unrelated phenomena. So guys, ये तो गलत हो गया, ठीक है? This is obviously wrong because they are not unrelated. Global warming does not breed storm, okay, but make them more destructive. The Clausius-Clapeyron equation, though it predicts potential increase in atmospheric moisture content, cannot predict the scale of damage storms might wreak. Okay, so guys, this is a good option. Okay, but then the problem is with the last line. Okay, if you see, cannot predict the scale of damage storm night red. global warming does not breed storm, but it makes them more destructive. Okay, so this much is correct. The Clausius control predicts potential increase in atmospheric moisture content. Cannot predict the scale of damage storm might wreak. So guys, the problem with this option is that this is something that we don't really know. Okay, we don't exactly know what what can be predicted, and what cannot be predicted as far as the equation goes. Okay, so because we don't know exactly, okay, so we cannot go in for the option B. Now let's look at the third option. Let's look at the third option. Okay. Now what is the third option? If I see the third option, it says global warming melts the glaciers, resulting in seawater expand volume expansion. This enables more water vapor to fill the air above faster. Okay. So this looks good. Thus, modern storm contain more destructive energy. So guys, this is a good option because as you can see, global warming melts glaciers, resulting in seawater volume expansion, enables more water vapor to fill the air faster, and modern storms contain more destructive energy. So nothing wrong with this. Okay, we can go in with this option. C option looks a good choice. Now, if you look at D option, it says it's naive to think that rising sea levels and force of tropical storms are unrelated. Harvey was destructive as global warming has armed it with more moisture content, but this is not true of all storms. Now, guys, D option is like more or less okay, but the problem is with the last statement. But this may not be true of all storms because, guys, we don't exactly know whether it's true and applies for the other storms or not, because the question is not giving us any description of whether this thing applies to other storms or not. Okay, it applies to Harvey, we know that, but then this whole phenomena of human intervention, obviously if it applies to Harvey, it may apply to other storms as well. And this is something that has been mentioned, that storms generally are becoming more powerful. Okay, so you can see this. There have always been storms and hurricanes along the Gulf of Mexico, but it makes them more wetter and more powerful. Okay, so and you can say that this does not cause storms like Harvey. That means there are other storms also, and these other storms are also becoming or becoming more powerful because of human activity. So we cannot say that this may not be true for all storms, because it may be true, right? Okay, so the best option that we can see is option C. Okay, because C option, there's nothing wrong. Global warming melts glaciers, resulting in seawater volume expansion. That this enables more water vapor to fill the air faster, and thus modern storms contain more destructive energy. Okay, so that is uh, that is one good option, right? Okay, okay. Let's see the next question. Okay, so guys, have a look at this question, and then we take it for discussion. Take around 3 minutes to read the question, and then we discuss. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Let's have, let's see. Okay, okay, so this is what the discussion says. Japanese government. Okay, so Japanese government panel announced that it recommends regulating only genetically modified organisms that have had foreign genes permanently introduced into their genomes. Okay, so the regulation applies as per the Japanese government to only a certain category of genetically modified organisms. Okay, so what is that category? Which have foreign genes permanently introduced, foreign genes permanently introduced into their genomes. Okay, so if foreign genes are not permanently introduced, if foreign genes are not permanently introduced, then that does not apply, and not those whose endogenous genes have been edited. So guys, this is something that is like very strange, because the rule has been made in such a manner that if the endogenous gene have been edited, if the endogenous gene has been edited, okay, then there is no regulation. Okay, endogenous means the genes that were already present in the organism from the beginning. If the endogenous gene was edited, then there is no regulation. But if a foreign gene has been introduced, then regulation applies. The only stipulation is that researchers and businesses will have to register their modifications to plant or animals with the government, with the exceptions of microbes cultured in contained environment. So again, uh, this is an exception. So microbes cultured in contained environment. Okay, so when you have microbes cultured in contained environment, they do not need to register with the government. Okay, so again, this is one category that has been left out. Okay. Uh, Reactions to the decision are mixed. While lauding the potential benefit of genome editing, and editorial opposes across the board permission. Okay, so this is the main thing. Now, reactions to this are mixed. While lauding means while praising the potential benefit of genome editing, and editorial opposes across the board permission. Okay, so the permission has according to the editorials, okay, according to the reactions, okay, according to the reactions that we are getting, the reactions are sort of mixed, because the editorial is opposing the across the board permission. Now, what is across the board permission? So guys, what has happened is that all endogenous genes which have been edited have been given the permission. Only regulation is on foreign genes permanently introduced into their genomes. So that is very strange, because how is it that all endogenous genes which have been edited, okay, are all risk free? Because the discussion says that there might be potential risk in the modifications of endogenous genes also. Unforeseen risk in gene editing cannot be ruled out, or genetically modified products must go through the same safety and labeling procedure regardless of the method. So this is what the crux is. So there are two methods. Okay, one method has been let go and the other method is regulated. So there are two methods. One method is not regulated, the other method is properly regulated. Now the point is that one method that has got permission from the government and has no regulation is the one where the endogenous genes have been edited. Okay, so that is allowed. Okay, there's no regulation on that. But the last four lines are saying that there lies risk in gene editing itself. So one method cannot be given a blanket permission and the other method should not be given a blanket ban. So basically, the same regulations should apply to both the methods, because risks would always be there. The last two lines may, okay, what we see is that in a gene editing, whether it's endogenous or exogenous, okay, it does not matter because the risk applies to all. Now, if you look at the A option is accepting microbes cultured in contained environment from the regulation of genome editing is premature. So guys, this one, if I look at the first option, accepting microbes cultured in contained environment from the regulation of gene editing is premature. Okay, now guys, there's nothing wrong with this, right? Okay, obviously it is saying that this is premature, but the main agenda was the risk involved in gene editing, and the idea was that there are certain methods which have been exempted. Okay, so the risk was there, right? Okay, last three lines talk about the risk. Okay, so A option cannot be the answer. So we can rule out the A option. Okay, so A option cannot be the answer. Look at the B option. Exempting from regulations. The editing of endogenous gene is not desirable as this procedure might be risk prone. Now, guys, this is like best option because see what is happening. The risk is happening because there has been permission which has been given, and this is basically a blanket permission. Okay, you don't have to get any sort of regulation from the government, or you don't need any permission as such. If you are modifying endogenous genes, there is no permission required, and the risk is only this, that endogenous genes can also prove to be risky, because you can see in the second last line. Second last line. Okay, second last line says unforeseen risk in gene editing. Unforeseen risk in gene editing. Okay, so guys, where would be the unforeseen risk? Okay, only in the endogenous one, because the endogenous ones are not regulated, right? Unforeseen risk in gene editing cannot be ruled out. Okay, so this applies to the endogenous thing. So this is the correct answer. Third option. A government panel in Japan says transgenic modification genome editing are not the same. Okay, so guys, this is not basically the discussion whether they are same or not. The discussion was that endogenous genes are not regulated at all, and endogenous gene modifications are permitted, and this is something that might result in a situation which can create risk. Okay, because obviously we're regulating the foreign genes. Okay, like the foreign introduced genes. Okay, so that is being regulated. Okay, so there's like obviously there's a regulation. Okay, but then this endogenous gene one is not getting regulated, and this is something that might create a problem. Okay, or risk. Okay, so the risk wala factor is very important. Okay, so this was something that can be ruled out. Creating categories within genetically modified products in terms of transgenic modification and genome editing, advanced science, but defies laws. Because there is nothing like defying law. Okay, so obviously this is like the D option is totally out of context. So we can rule out that one also. So guys, a pretty decent question, and if we look at the whole discussion, very easily we can zero down on the second option, that is B. Okay. So moving on to the next question. Okay, so this is the third question. This is what you see on the screen. Third question, again an actual card question. 3 minutes, and then we take it for discussion. Okay, so guys, let's have a look at this question. So this is what the question says. The early optimism about the sport's deterrent effects on delinquency was premature as the researchers failed to find any consistent relationship between sport participation and deviance. So guys, what is delinquency? Delinquency is basically the tendency of the young people to get into crime. So it was premature. Okay, so there's a link between like there's a there's a lot of optimism. Like people are really positive about this relationship. That there is an effect of playing sports on delinquency. Okay, but then researchers have failed to find any consistent relationship between sport participation and deviance. So guys, you need to understand this. The link may be there, the link may not be there. Now the first two lines are not saying that a link is not there, right? The only thing is that the research has failed to prove it. And it's not like the link is not there, but the research has not been able to prove it. Okay, and there is still optimism as it has been given. As the initial studies were based on cross-sectional data and the effects captured were short-term, it was problematic to test and verify the temporal. Temporal means time sequence of events suggested by the deterrence theory. So this is the problem. This is one of the problems, that the studies that have been conducted to understand the relationship between delinquency and sport, they are of short-term nature. Okay, so that is one thing. Second, it is very problematic to test and verify the temporal sequencing of events suggested by the deterrence theory. So it's a problem. It's a big problem to test the time sequence of events. So which in short we can say, again the author is saying the same thing, that this theory has some difficulties when it comes to testing. So we cannot test it, but we don't know exactly whether this theory works or not, or there's a relationship or not. We don't know, but people are optimistic about this, right? The correlation between sports and delinquency could not be disentangled from class and cultural variables known. So, guys, this is important. This is one thing that puts the whole situation in confusion, because, as we all know, that if we want to test a relationship, we have to make some variables constant. Okay, now in this case, the class and culture, these are the two variables that are difficult to make constant. And because you cannot make them constant, okay, and they will vary from person to person, again this makes it difficult to check the relationship. So guys, because these two variables cannot be made constant, again this creates a problem in testing or empirically proving something. So guys, we can see from here till here that the problem that the author is saying is that this theory may be true, but it's difficult to prove it empirically with evidence because of class, cultural variables, temporal sequence of events, etc., etc. So there are many reasons why this theory cannot be tested. Choosing individuals to play sports in the first place was problematic, which became more acute in subsequent decades. Researchers began to document just how closely sports participation linked to social class indicators. Okay, so now guys, looking at the options. So let's have a look at the options. Contradicting the previous optimism, later research have proved that there is no consistent relationship. So this is not the point. Okay, there may be a relationship, there may not be a relationship. It has not been proven. Okay, so this is wrong to say that it has been proven wrong, that the earlier optimism was misplaced. Okay, so we can rule out this option. Statistical and empirical weakness stand in the way of inferring any relationship between sport participation and deviance. Okay, so guys, this is a very good option, because what is the reason why we cannot prove this theory? What is the reason why we cannot prove the relationship? Because there are certain limitations in terms of empirical and statistical evidence. Okay, so we can see that there are two variables which cannot be made constant, like class and culture. Then again, you have problem in checking the temporal sequence of events. Then again, the studies were of short-term nature because it was problematic to conduct it on the long-term way. So statistical and empirical weaknesses. That means the concerns of checking something with evidence and data is the reason why this theory has not been tested till now. And there may be a relationship, we don't know. So this is a good option. There is a direct relationship between sports and participant delinquency, but needs more empirical evidence. So guys, this relationship has not been proven. So saying that there is a relationship, so this is the wrong statement. This is a wrong statement. Okay, there may be a relationship. Okay, but we don't know. So this is wrong. Sports participation is linked to class and culture variables such as education, income, and social. So the problem with fourth option is that you haven't even mentioned delinquency. Okay, so guys, the answer is option B. Okay, so again, coming to the fourth question. and we can take around 3 minutes to solve this one as well, and then we take it for discussion. Okay, so you have to choose the summary, and again, as the previous questions, again this is a cat question. It's an actual cat question. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, North American wallet Sphinx moth. Okay, so we are talking about moths. That's a type of insect. So North American walnut sphinx moth caterpillars. Okay, it looks like easy meal for birds, but they have a trick up their sleeve. They produce whistles that sound like bird alarm calls. Okay, so guys, these small caterpillars, they make whistles that sound like bird alarm calls. Purpose? What is the purpose? Scaring potential predators away. At first, scientists suspected birds were simply startled by the loud noise. But new studies suggest a more sophisticated mechanism. The caterpillar's whistle appears to mimic a bird alarm call. So guys, these caterpillars are very smart, and they know a mechanism by which they can mimic, copy the bird alarm call, and obviously once they sound that bird alarm call, the avian predators, that is the birds, they run from there, they scramble for cover. When pecked by a bird, the caterpillar whistles by compressing their bodies like an accordion and forcing air out of the specialized hole in their sides. Okay, so this is how they make sound. What they do is they compress their bodies, okay, like an accordion, and then they force air out of their specialized hole in their sides, okay, and then they force air from their sides, and that is how they make the sound. The whistles are impressively loud, okay, and they make very loud whistles. They have been measured at over 50 decibels from 5 centimeters away from the caterpillar, considering they are made by 2-inch long insect. Okay, so guys, last 3-4 statements are simply saying that the whistle is very loud, and assuming that the insect is very small, that's a very loud noise to make. So what is the suggestion, what is the discussion all about? So the discussion is basically about a small insect, that's a sphinx moth caterpillar, and these people have a mechanism through which they can scare the predators, that is the bird. And what they do is that they copy the bird alarm call, and because they make such a loud noise, the birds run away. Okay, so pretty simple. Let's look at the options. So A option says North American walrus moth caterpillars will whistle periodically. Okay, so guys, this is the problem. They don't do it periodically. Periodically means at regular intervals. So this is wrong. B option, North American walnut sphinx moth caterpillar can whistle very loudly. The loudest whistle is shocking as they're very small insects. So guys, this is okay. The second statement, and yes, the B option is not wrong as such, but the problem is that it fails to cover the main agenda, and that is that it's a defense mechanism that these people have where they copy the alarm calls of the bird. Okay, so that is something that is somehow missing. Look at C option. The North American walrus string mothopoders in a case of acoustic deception. So guys, this becomes very clear that they are trying to deceive the predator. Acoustic deception. Okay, acoustic relates to sound. Produce whistles that mimic bird alarm calls to defend themselves. So guys, this was very important, that you have to tell that this is a mechanism to save themselves from the predators. Okay, so guys, this option covers the maximum ground. So this is the best option. Fourth option, North American walnut swing moth caterpillars, in the case of deception, camouflage. So, guys, this is not camouflage. Camouflage is a different thing where you change the skin color to match with the surroundings. Okay, so this is also wrong. So, very easily, the answer is option C. Okay. So, coming to the next question, guys, you have a parajumble. So, what you have to do is that you have to arrange these four in sequence. Okay, and you can take around 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we take it for discussion. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, so if I look at all the options, the best option that introduces is this one. This is the introduction. Because we can see that the first option starts with perhaps, and C option is featuring already, so this cannot be the starting option. D option starts with although the inability. Okay, so again, this doesn't look like an starting option. So this is the best option that can introduce the idea that basically the discussion is going to be about decline in writing skills. Okay, so this starts our discussion. Declining writing skills can be stopped. Now, how do you think it would be stopped? Obviously, the schools have to take the initiative. Today's back to basics movement has already forced some schools. So, guys, this is important. When you say already, that means that the discussion has already started. Okay, now this is the step that has already been taken. And why it has been taken? So that you can stop the decline in writing skills. Okay, so what you're saying is that the schools have already started taking steps to stop the decline in writing skills. So, very easily, because of this word already, we can find that B and C become linked. Now, because you have already mentioned schools, now you can talk about the teachers of school and look at this word although. Now, when do you say although? You use although when you've already mentioned something and now you want to talk about talk about like one of the perspectives which makes fulfilling the objective difficult. For example, in this case, you are saying that schools have to see really how they can handle the situation and how they can stop the decline in writing skills, how they place emphasis on 3 hours, and then you also mentioned, but the teachers are not that capable. Now, obviously, the discussion of teachers will only come when you've already mentioned the school. So, with this word although and mention of teachers, we can see that it's linked to school. So that is C and D. And then finally, you see that in D option, you have mentioned the word programs, a number of programs. Now move to A option. It says perhaps the best known, perhaps the best known. Okay, best known. Okay, so when do you say best known? You say best known only when you have already mentioned that, okay, these are the options available. So you have a number of programs, and out of all these programs, this is the best, which is Bay Area Writing Project. Okay, so out of all the programs that you mentioned in D option, out of all the programs that you mentioned in D option, the best one is the Bay Area Writing Project. Okay, so it becomes BCDA. Okay, so guys, this is the answer, BCDA. Okay, coming to sixth question. Okay, again, you can take around 3 minutes. Okay, so guys, let's discuss the equation. Now, if I look at the best starting statement, I realize that the B option is the best statement that starts the discussion. The bellicose Spartans sacrificed all the finer things in life for military expertise. Okay, so bellicose means someone who is prone to pick up fights. Okay, so these people were great warriors. So bellicose means quarrelsome or belligerent. Okay, so what were the sacrifices? So these are the sacrifices. So you start with the child. Male children were examined at birth by Cyril Caution and those deemed weak to become soldiers were left to die of exposure. So guys, when the child is born, if he or she is weak, uh, it's left to die. Okay, and if the child is fortunate, okay, so look at this, those fortunate. So obviously those refers to children only. To survive babyhood were taken away from their mothers at the age of 7 to undergo rigorous military training. So guys, now the discussion has moved to military training. To see this, the child is born. If it's weak, it dies. If it's not weak, then it survives and undergoes training. What's the training? Military training. And what sort of training is this? Now look at this word military training and now look for this reference. This consisted, so guys, this one. This consisted. Now what is this referring to? This is obviously referring to military training. This is referring to military training. Okay, so D option, this refers to military training. Okay, so till now, these are the connections that we have made. B option, starting option. Then the child is born. E option. Uh, if it's weak, it dies. Okay, that's E option. If it's weak, it dies. Then after the E option comes the C option. The fortunate ones, C option. Okay, the fortunate ones, C option. Then after the C option comes the discussion of military training. Okay, so you can see military training. Okay, now what does military training consist of? It consisted of beatings and deprivations of all kind, like going around barefoot in winter, and was starvation. Okay, so they were not given food, and that was a part of training. So very strange. So starvation was a part of training. So they were forced to steal food to survive. Now, what is happening? They're stealing food, and stealing food is a part of training. And what will happen if you steal food? You may be caught. Okay, now look at this option. Okay, if caught in the act. Now, what is the act? Stealing. Stealing food. What is the act? Stealing food. If caught in the act, they were punished not for crime but for allowing themselves to be caught. Another lash of whip. Okay, so guys, you can see this that this act has the reference from stealing food that is mentioned in D option. So very easily I can place A option in the ending, and this becomes the whole sequence B E C D A. Okay, so again you have the next question. Parajimbal, again 3 minutes. Okay, so guys, let's solve this question. Okay, so if I look at the introduction, so this is the best introduction. The quality design patented by Christopher Scholes in 1860 and sold to Remington in 1873 aimed to solve a mechanical problem of early typewriters. So we are talking about the mechanical problem of the early typewriters. Now, if I look for reference of early problem and mechanical problem, I find that E option continues the idea of mechanical problem. When certain combination of keys were struck quickly, the type bars often jammed. So guys, this is the mechanical problem. The type bars jam. Okay, so this is the mechanical problem. Okay, CE is linked. Now, if the mechanical problem is there, what will happen? You will try to avoid the mechanical problem, and that mechanical problem is the jamming of type bars. So now you move on to option A. Okay, so that says to avoid this. Now, what is this? That is the jamming of bars. Okay, jamming of bars. Okay, so CEA. Now, you also find that there's also a mention of one more layout. Now, what is that layout? Now, look at this. A different layout which has been patented by August Dvorak in 1976 was shown to be much faster. So, guys, we have one more layout and that is much more faster. And you find that D option says yet. It talks about the same layout, Dvorak layout. Okay, you have the same layout that is Dvorak. So, it follows that though the prototype or the layout was faster, but it was never actually adopted. It was never adopted. So you can see that yet shows that contrast that despite being faster, it was never adopted. So we can see again there's a very good link between B and D option. So again, B and D get linked. Okay, so you have this combination CEA and finally the second layout that is BD. Okay, so this becomes the answer. Okay, so guys, this is again an actual cat question. 3 minutes. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. So if I look at all the options, which is the best introduction? So this cannot start 4 days later, furious that his own plans. Okay, so this cannot be starting statement. We can see that C option is a good start. In early June, PeopleSoft said that it would go by JD Edwards, a small rival. Okay, so this can start a discussion. Again, these options don't look like good starting. Okay, so if I start the discussion with C option. In early June, this was the name of the company, PeopleSoft said that it would buy this one more company, JD Edwards, a smaller rival. Okay. Now, once they decided to buy, 4 days later, Oracle announced its own bid. So, guys, look at this, its own bid. That means one bid was already mentioned. So now you mention the other bid, and that is the bid by Oracle. So that is why you said its own bid. Okay, because there is one bid that is already mentioned. So this was the first bid, and then Oracle, after 4 days, announce its own bid. Okay, so own bid would only make sense when there's already one bid mentioned. Okay, so that means C and A option. So what was that bid? What was that bid? For PeopleSoft, and invited the firm's board for discussion. Okay, so PeopleSoft was planning to buy JD Edwards, but on the other hand, okay, Oracle decided to, in fact, buy PeopleSoft itself, and for that, it invited the firm's board for discussion. Now, obviously, the board has been called. So the board might like the proposal, it might not like the proposal. So this is what is mentioned. Furious that his own plans have been endangered, PeopleSoft boss. So guys, what were the plans? What were his own plans? The plans of the boss of the PeopleSoft was to buy JD Edwards. But now, because Oracle has put a bid for PeopleSoft, what has happened is that his plans have been put in danger. The PeopleSoft boss, Craig Conway, called Oracle's offer diabolical. Now, diabolical is evil, and it was Larry Ellison, a sociopath. So we can place B option after A. So that is CAB. So B option comes after A option. Why? Because obviously the plan, the proposal of Oracle buying PeopleSoft was not liked by the boss, and he said that the offer is evil, the offer is diabolical. So CAB is a good link. And now look at this. Moreover comes only when you have already mentioned something and now you want to expand on it. So obviously, Craig Conway has already called the offer diabolical and boss Larry is a sociopath. So now, in order to continue the discussion, we use moreover. So moreover, Mr. Conway. So now Mr. Conway is mentioned. So obviously, the discussion was related to Craig Conway. You can see this Craig Conway. Okay, so very clearly D option because of the name of the same person. Okay, Craig Conway, and then comes the Mr. Conway. BD forms a very good link. Okay, and then as we all realize that Mr. Conway, he could not imagine no he could imagine no price nor combination of price and other conditions to recommend accepting the offer. So in D option it becomes very clear that under no conditions Mr. Conway is going to accept the offer of Oracle. It becomes very clear that under no condition Mr. Conway would accept the offer of Oracle. So obviously the offer would be turned down. And then comes the E option. So on June 12th, the PeopleSoft turned down the Oracle's offer. So, guys, this is the answer CABDE. So, this is the final answer CABDE. Okay, so this is odd one out. Try this one. delinquency. Okay, so let's take this for discussion. Okay, so this is what the discussion is. This is what the discussion is. Okay, see, the main discussion is that everything in the world changes. Language is also prone to change. And we all realize that everything in the world changes. And despite realizing the fact that everything in the world is changing, still, there are some people who do not accept the fact that language can also change. And these are the people who actually resent language change. And this is very strange because everything in the world changes. So why not the language? Okay, so guys, this is what the discussion is. And let me tell you the links. This is how it starts. Okay, second option is the starting statement when you look at the link. Okay, language, like everything else, gradually transforms itself over the centuries. And then you say there is nothing surprising in this. There is nothing surprising in this. Now, what is this? The change of language. So just like everything in the world is changing, in a world where humans grow tadpoles into frogs and milk churns into cheese, it would be strange if language alone remained unaltered. So everything in the world is changing, so why not language? Okay. Now, most people realize this, but then there are some who actually resist the change in spite of this. Now, in spite of this, what is this? This is basically the realization that everything in the world is changing. Large number of intelligent people condemn and resent language change regarding alterations as being due to unnecessary sloppiness, laziness, and ignorance. So, guys, this is a very clear-cut connection because you say, in spite of the realization that everything in the world is prone to change, still people are against the change of language and the way the language evolves, and they are against any alteration in language, right? So the whole discussion is about language and change in language, and why some people uh, condemn it, and why it's the right, like, it's not logical to condemn language change, right? Because everything is changing and language is also changing, so there's nothing new in that. So which is the odd one out? Third answer, third option, third option, that's the odd one out. Why? Why? Because if you see, it talks about the direction of language change. Guys, the discussion was not about the direction. Okay, look at third option. It says we need to understand how and why language change occurs and find out the direction, if any, in the human language are moving. So we have a totally new agenda here. Okay, so we have to understand how, why, direction. Okay, so these are the things that are not a part of our original discussion. So we can rule it out very easily. The answer is going to be option third. Okay. Okay, so guys, again the next question. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, so what is the discussion all about? See, the author is very positive about the fact that the American forces and the Kurdish forces, along with the Iraqi forces, are defeating ISIL. So, this whole discussion has a more positive tone because the author is very optimistic about the winning of American forces and the Kurdish forces and the Iraqi forces. Okay, because they fought as a coalition against the ISIL or ISIS, and the ISIL and ISIS are at the in the back foot, like they're receding, they're going back, and American forces are winning. So let's now try to combine, let's now try to make the sequence. Okay, so look at this. So if I see this fourth option, this introduces the idea that the Iraqi, Kurdish, and American forces are winning, and the tide is turning against the Islamic State. Okay, so very easily we can see that fourth option is the introduction. Then you talk about, once you introduce the discussion, now you talk about the final details. Okay, so what are the final details? The final details are the American air operations have inflicted heavy losses on the group, killing its fighters, destroying the equipment, and disrupting its command and impeding its movement. So impede means to block. So this is what has been done. Okay, the fighters are getting killed of Islamic State. The equipments are getting destroyed of Islamic State, and the command and control of Islamic State is getting disrupted. So these are the fine details. Now, if all these things are happening, what is the consequence of the American offensive? Now comes this part. As a result, the Islamic State is more and more on the defensive. Okay, now because these things are happening, okay, the fighters are getting killed, the equipments are getting destroyed, and Americans are basically impeding the and disrupting the movement of the ISIL, and that is like as a result of this, the ISIL has gone on the defensive. Okay, so you can see that the 4-1-2 sequence works out, and this is basically a very optimistic scenario that is painted by the author, because his basic idea is, or his basic way of looking at a situation is that American forces along with the Iraqi and Kurdish forces are basically on the winning spree. So this option, the third one, is totally out of context in that sense. Why? Because look at the tone of the language, look at the language, look at the tone. The problem is that political progress of Iraq has not kept pace with the with the military campaign. So guys, you start with the problem. Okay, so in all the other options we were talking about winning. Okay, and we were very optimistic, and now suddenly you start talking about the problem, and then you talk about the political progress in Iraq. So very clearly, this is something that is totally out of context. Okay, and the language also is not in sync with the rest of the discussion. So very clearly, the answer is option third. Okay, so that is the odd one out, third option. Okay, so let's take this for discussion. So, guys, if I look at the discussion, I find that second option, third option, and like they talk about Americans, and if I also see that there's a mention of being politically correct. Now, see, if I look at the best starting option, that is third option. An annual survey that came out last week revealed how conflicted Americans are on whether it's better to say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays in this time of the year. Now, I think we all realize that when I say Merry Christmas, okay, so this is basically a sort of greeting that would be liked by Christians, and Happy Holidays is like more generic. Okay, and America is a diverse society, so people prefer saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. Okay, because they want to like they don't want to sound biased towards one religion, and so they prefer the generic Happy Holidays over the Merry Christmas. Okay, so you can see this. Nearly two-thirds Americans feel it's better to wish someone the more generic Happy Holidays. Okay, and why do they do so? Because like in an increasingly diverse society, they don't want anyone to feel offended, and they don't want to make their greeting more about Christians. Okay, so three and two are like very clearly linked because both talk about Americans, and like why what is the reason why Americans prefer Happy Holidays. Now, guys, this is important. When you wish someone more generic Happy Holidays, you are actually trying to be politically correct. Now, what is political correctness? Now, when I say politically correct, okay, we find that a lot of politicians, a lot of celebrities, they try being politically correct. Now, political correctness is more about not being biased towards any caste, any creed, any religion, any color, and you are a sort of person who has who is more or less neutral. Okay, so it's like you don't have any bias towards any culture, any religion, or any caste. Okay, like that. Now, the reason why people prefer Happy Holidays over Merry Christmas is because they don't want people to feel that like they're only greeting the Christians. Okay, they want in a diverse society to sound more acceptable. Okay, so they are using generic expressions like Happy Holidays. So now that is something that's more politically correct because the diverse society that they have in America. Okay, so that is the reason why they prefer Happy Holidays. So this is 3 to 4 that is linked. Okay, and obviously this whole discussion is in context of America. Now the odd one out is first option. Why? Look at this. What's striking to anyone who spent time in UK is that everyone says Merry Christmas. Okay, so this is basically talking about UK, and this is not what makes the sequence. So the best sequence is 3 to 4. So that's the link, and the odd one out is first option. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Now, the discussion is about the wide range of studies that are on display that are on display about Shakespeare, and this wide range is basically this wide range of subjects that are in reference to Shakespeare are very deep and profound. So, guys, if I look at this, the erudition on display. Okay, so this is a very good starting statement. Okay, erudition means knowledge. The knowledge on display in Shakespeare is wide ranging and profound. So the knowledge is very wide. Okay, so like that means different fields. Profound is deep. Now look at this. This is the wide range. This is the wide range. Studies of Shakespeare are can by lawyers, theologians, physicians. Okay, so guys, this is the wide range of studies. Okay, and you can see this. It says all these fellows, okay, from different walks of life, from different fields actually, okay, like lawyers, physicians, astronomers, they all conclude that Shakespeare's manifest ready knowledge of respective fields. So guys, the discussion basically says that Shakespeare was one person who had a wide range of knowledge, and these studies on Shakespeare have been done by people coming from different what we can say professional backgrounds like lawyers, theologians, physicians, astronomers, etc., etc. So this basically is about the wide range. Okay, so this is wide range of studies, and now you look at the conclusion of studies. Okay, so now look at this. Look at this. Second option. The natural conclusion of these studies. So what are these studies? These studies. So these are the studies. This is the study. Okay, so that is mentioned fourth option. So guys, this is how we move. First, we introduce the wide range, the knowledge of Shakespeare in wide range and profound. Then you talk about the studies that are done on Shakespeare. Okay, that are again people from different professions, different fields, and then you say that this is the conclusion of all those studies. Okay, second option. That is the conclusion of all those studies, right? And the conclusion was obviously that Shakespeare is very learned and very broadly educated, etc., etc. So this is a very nice sequence that can make 142. So the one that is the odd one out, and that is option third. So that is the odd one out, and let's look at the third option. It says Shakespeare's works also convey familiarity with specialized knowledge of place and cultures that could not have been found in books or taught in school. So guys, this is one statement that talks about the familiarity with specialized language, knowledge of places, cultures. Okay, so this is not something that is sync with the discussion. Okay, because this is like off track, and we can see that 142 have a very fine sequence, and so this is going to be the answer. The answer is option third. So guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so if I look at the second option, which happens to be the okay, so look at third option, second option, and fourth option. Okay, so now we see second, third, and fourth option that talk in a more positive manner uh, about this very popular writer Jan Austen. And see, guys, the discussion is that there are a lot of movies that have been made on the novels and books written by Jane Austen, and there's no dearth of novels. Like there's no dearth of movies which have been adapted to the novels written by Jane Austen. Okay, so now let's start a discussion with option third. Okay, look at this. Today you can't throw a stone into the female-centric fair without hitting Austen in some way, shape, or form. Now, guys, this statement actually means that she's so popular when it comes to the female centric book category or novels category that if you pick up any random book, you you are bound to hit Jane Austen in some or the other way. Like she's so popular, like even if you randomly pick up a book, okay, like you will hit Jane Austen. Okay, so this is one. Now obviously this is very positive about Jane Austen, like her popularity and all that. Now look at this second option. In the last decade alone, there have been four Pride and Prejudice. No, 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 guys, what is four Pride and Prejudice? There are basically four adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, which means four movies based on Pride and Prejudice. Two treatments of Emma, the Lances into Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, and Persuasion, and not to mention four looks into sense and sensibility. So, guys, second option mentions that there are numerous movies which have been made on the novels written by Jane Austen. Okay, so obviously this is again positive about Jane Austen and her popularity. So that means three and two are linked. Now look at fourth option. That's all of her novels at least getting one adaptation. So which in other words means that the whole situation given in second option proves that like when you look at her novels, uh, the novels written by her, okay, the novels written by her, they're actually getting at least one movie. So at least one movie has been made on every novel that she has written, right? So look at this statement. Fourth option, not that's all of her novels getting at least one adaptation, which means one movie, one adaptation. If not multiple staffs, so if not multiple movies, at least every novel is getting one movie each, and movies have been made on like on every novel of Jane Austen, and some of the novels have been adapted into multiple movies. Okay, so again, this is positive about the popularity of Jane Austen. So, guys, I can very easily form this sequence 3, 2, and 4. Now, look at first option. It's surprising that after filming of Pride and Prejudice in the 1940, the film which was very successful at box office, no other film adaptation of Jane Austen novel was made for theatrical release until 1955. So guys, you can see this, that first option is actually saying that very surprisingly, after 1940, okay, after 1940, the popularity of Jane Austen has gone down and no movies has been made or put out for theatrical release until 1995. So this first option has an idea and has a tone which is totally contrary to what is being discussed in 3 to 4. Okay, and obviously this is negative about the popularity of Jane Austen. Okay, so the odd one out is going to be option 1. Okay, and 3 to 4 is the sequence. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Now, if I see, the discussion is basically comparing conifers with flowering plants and how conifers are more adapted to the conditions where, like which are uh, like barren soils and not very fertile. On the other hand, flowering trees are more suited to fertile soils and proper moisture, right? Okay, so let's try to see how this comparison happens. Okay, so we start the discussion with third option. On the whole, conifers are excellent pioneers, invading soil that have previously been devastated and yet not build up fertility. So, guys, third option is introducing the idea that conifers flourish best in those soils which are infertile. Okay, good enough. Now you compare conifers with the flowering plants, but in good or adequate soil. So, guys, this is soils, and again, like as you can see that you have already mentioned that conifers flourish in devastated soils and infertile soils, whereas in the adequate soils in reliable climates, the flowering plants flourish. Okay, so we can see that this is basically a comparison with like of flowering plants of conifers with flowering plants. Now, how do you conclude this comparison? Okay, now you conclude this by saying broadly speaking. Now, broadly speaking is one of those phrases that comes in the like in the end, and it sums up the whole discussion. Okay, so broadly speaking, conifers flourish in conditions that flowering plants find especially difficult. So that is obviously true because flowering plants have a different type of condition in which they flourish, and unlike conifers flourish in an infertile soil. Flowering plants flourish in fertile soil. So this becomes our becomes the group, right? Okay, so we can see that the whole discussion is basically about conifers versus flowering plants and what sort of conditions both grow in. Okay, now look at first option. Now first option says there are 50 times more flowering species of flowering trees than of conifer trees. So guys, this is basically talking about the number 50 times more species. The discussion was not about comparing the number of flowering plants with the number of coniferous trees. So very easily we can see that this is the odd one out. Okay, so we can rule out this. Okay, so this is the answer. Again, we have an odd one out. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, so we find that the discussion is basically about the melting of platinum and how tough it was to melt platinum, and it was nearly impossible. But still, the archaeological finds found that somehow the native smiths were somehow able to manage to make jewelry out of platinum. Okay, so let's see how this sequence works out. Now, look at second option. It's the starting option. Platinum melts at temperature far higher than gold, bronze, and even iron, and higher than can be reached by charcoal fires of pre-Columbian South American cultures. Okay, so second option introduces the discussion and says that platinum is very tough to melt, and like it's very difficult to melt it, so you cannot make anything out of, right? Okay, so in continuation with that, in continuation of that, we find first option. It should have been impossible for indigenous smiths of South America to convert platinum granules into what could then be worked out into jewelry or other items. So that is very obvious because now you have just mentioned in second option that it melts at a very high temperature. So obviously the indigenous smiths, okay, the ones who make jewelry and things out of platinum or for that matter any metal, so they would find it nearly impossible to make jewelry and all that because it's impossible to melt. And now you say that despite this, the archaeological finds show that there were jewelries made in that era. Okay. So now look at this yet. Yet shows contrast. Okay, and contrast to what? Contrast to what you have just mentioned. That it's like it's near impossible. It's very tough to make jewelry out of it because the fire or the heat that is required is very tough to reach. So we find that there's a sequence of 2, 1, and 3. Right. Okay. So after yet we find that there's a mention of a new method, and by using this method, the natives and the like these native smiths were able to somehow manage make jewelry out of platinum. Okay. So this is what justifies the yet. Okay, and this is the sequence 213. It talks about the higher melting point of platinum and the problems associated with melting platinum, and yet how the problems have been overcome by the natives. Okay, so that is 213. Now the odd one out is fourth option because the fourth option says platinum was recognized element by European chemists. Okay, so guys, this is not a discussion of European chemist or for that matter, okay, whether it's recognized or not, and like it's not about discovery also. Okay, it's simply about the fact that platinum is tough to melt, and it had been very tough for the indigenous people to make jewelry, and yet the jewelries have been found. That means they somehow managed to find a method. Okay, so that is 213, and fourth option is odd one out. Okay, so let's look at this question. Okay, so guys, let's take this for discussion. Okay, now third is the starting statement. Complaining is a secular humanist act. It's a result of not just seizing knowledge of the difference between good and evil, but also of actually using the understanding to challenge what rulers and priestly castes have always told us is the natural order. So, guys, this it it refers to complaining. Okay, the sequence is 3-2. Now, 3-2 is followed by fourth option because again fourth option talks about complaining. It is resistance against the idea promulgated by religion that suffering is our divinely ordained lot and uh, we can do no more than put up with it piously. Okay, so that becomes the sequence and the discussion. It's like the discussion is basically about complaining and it talks about the various aspects of complaining. It's result of not just seizing knowledge and difference between good and evil, understanding the challenges, etc., etc. And again, it talks about the resistance against the idea. Okay, okay. So again, you have in the fourth option you have it. So again, it refers to complaining only. Right. Now, which option is the odd one out in this case? Obviously, the first option. Okay, so that is the odd one out. Okay, because first option talks about a totally different thing. It is nowhere connected to complaining. It talks about something like religions, belief systems, reactions to imperfections of human life. Okay, whereas 3 to 4 was basically a discussion related to the idea of complaining, which is a secular humanist act. Okay, so guys, this is the answer. First option, that is odd one out. Okay. So guys, that would be all for today's session, and I will see you in the next session. Till then, thank you very much, and I see you in the next section.